Each of us has our own unique background and story of how we became a part of Chiefs Kingdom.
Our reach is far and wide, with fans all over the world cheering on our Kansas City Chiefs.
Everyone donning the red and gold has figuratively signed that mutual agreement and come together for one common purpose.
For 76,000 of us at a time, to descend upon Arrowhead, man our stations, let out our loudest battle cry to the tune of 142.2 decibels, and make that stadium rock until our opponents beg for mercy.
We are unrelenting in our pride for this city, these players, and this team. This is the show for the Allies, Arrowhead Allies.
A special edition of Arrowhead Allies here as we are joined by former Chiefs Hall of Famer, and now author, Tim Grunhard. Tim, welcome to Arrowhead Allies. You're surrounded with friends. You're among friends. Just revel in it, my friend. How's everything going?
Hey, guys, I'm with the Allies.
Absolutely.
That was outstanding. What a great intro. Congratulations. You guys got me fired up. I'm ready to roll. It's going to be great to be out with you guys today.
We probably just had YouTube ding us for a copyright issue on that NFL footage. So, that's all good, though. It's all good. Tim, you're looking great, man. How's everything going?
Oh, thanks. Everything's going really good. Just getting ready for the draft here in Kansas City. I was just looking at my schedule. I got a bunch of stuff coming up. That's going to be very, very busy in Kansas City. Hey, how great is it right now to be a Kansas City Chief fan in Kansas City? We are the Mecca of the NFL. We won the Super Bowl, right? We have the draft coming here. If you are an NFL fan, you got to be envious of the Kansas City Chiefs and the Kansas City Chief fans. This is outstanding.
Amen. Tim, I've seen I probably missed 4 of your games. I was a season ticket holder from 1991 through 2011, but I went to every single game in 1990, and I'm humbled to be sitting here in your presence. I greatly appreciate you joining this podcast. You are finished your book. I'm a big fan. I met my wife in 1993 when Montana Magic was going on, and we tried to go down to your show a couple times at the Levee, but it was so crowded. So we made it a date to go back home and cuddle in bed and listen to Tim Grunhard and Bill Gretz, or Bob Gretz, from the Levee on 101 on Thursday nights, man. It's an honor to have you on. Thank you, and God bless.
Hey, man, that's awesome. I appreciate it. Yeah, we had a lot of fun in the 90s doing that radio show. And one of the reasons why I wrote the book is just to tell some stories about some of the guys that played and walked the sidelines of Arrowhead in the 1990s, which I believe built the foundation for the Patrick Mahomes and the Travis Kelce's and the rest of the guys that hold up that Lombardi trophy. Very proud of this organization. Just thrilled to just be a part of the Chiefs Kingdom. Yeah, I got to play there, but I'm a fan. And I love listening to you guys and seeing your tweets and everything else. And you guys do a great job. So, hey, you guys are keeping it going, man. And the NFL, the great thing about the NFL, guys, as you all know, there's always something going on, right? You either have, the combine, and then you have the draft, and your free agency, and then you have the off-season program, and then all of a sudden training camp, and the season's back going. There's always something going on, so it's so much fun to cover the Kansas City Chiefs and the NFL.
Well, Tim, you talked about laying the foundation right there. You actually joined us a couple years ago on our show, 4-Minute Offense, in our 1995 reunion with Kimball Anders, Donnell Bennett. Greg Hill was there, Chris Penn, Dave Zott showed up a little later. I want to go back to that because you talked about the culture back in that time, laying the foundation. I thought your words were very poignant, so we're going to go to a very short clip of this.
And we all just got along. It was special. There was a lot of love for your teammates, a lot of love for each other in that locker room, and it was special. And it should have been better. You know what? We all know what happened at the end. It should have been better. It was a shame. It was a travesty what happened, because each one of these guys right here should have a ring or two on their fingers, because those football teams deserved it. Those football teams did everything they possibly could to get themselves in the best position, and it just didn't work out. And that's a shame of it. But bygones are bygones. But still, there's a ring around my heart for each one of these guys and how hard they worked and how they dedicated themselves to being Kansas City Chiefs. And guess what? The foundation for this Chiefs kingdom was built by these guys right here in 1995.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Hey, Tim, I got a quick question for you. You know, you broke down a lot of things in the book, and I just love it, from everything you explained, from Chris Zorich making you a better player at Notre Dame to Mike Webster, how he turned it over to you at halftime in the December game in 1990. You know, it was just a fabulous book. The insight, I greatly appreciate it. But one question I have for you is, 26 years ago, exactly at this time, the Kansas City Chiefs just ended the 1996 season by missing the playoffs, and the Chiefs lost their last 3 games, more than likely because Rich Gannon pulled his hamstring in the second to the last game of the season against the Indianapolis Colts. Then you had to go back to Steve Bono, and in my opinion, and the Chiefs Kingdom's opinion, it wasn't a good vibe. So what the Chiefs did was they marched in during that offseason quarterbacks Chris Chandler, Heath Shuler, and Elvis Gerbach. When they marched those quarterbacks in to see if they wanted to be the starting quarterback, did you get any say-so in that, Tim? Did Marty Schottenheimer come to you and say, hey, Tim, who do you like, Chris Chandler, Heath Shuler, or Elvis Gerbach? And did you feel that Rich Gannon got kind of shelved because he pulled his hamstring when he finally became the starter? How did that go about, Tim?
Yeah, you know what? Rich Gannon, what a great competitor. I talk about in the book. He just commanded so much respect in the huddle, and guys loved him. And then nothing against Elvis. And listen, Elvis had some great years here. But Rich was really kind of our guy, the offensive lines guy. That offense was geared and loved Rich Gannon. No, to answer your question, I don't think they had that kind of poll that Marty Schottenheimer would ask me any questions. You know, you got the Lamar, Patrick Mahomes now, I think, probably has a little bit of say of what wide receivers coming in, maybe offensive linemen. And then LeBron James, obviously, he's basically the GM of his team. So those superstars, they didn't ask offensive linemen. I never got to dictate who's going to put his hands between my legs. I was just glad there were hands there. You know what I mean? So.
Oh man, that's a good segue to my question, Tim. I grew up a Kansas City kid in the 90s, so of course I was a natural Chiefs fan. But not only that, I was a center playing football, so I paid close attention to you and your game. With that being said, from one center to another, you got to get real close with your quarterbacks, if you know what I mean. Once one of those quarterbacks, you said Rich Gannon, was Rich Gannon that your guy who you was like, I trust you back there. We're good.
You know what? If I had to pick one, it was Joe Montana, because he always had beautiful little manicures before the game. You know? So he was kind of a pretty boy. So he had those nice soft hands, man. He's putting those hands in Palmolive. You remember those old commercials, right? So he had nice soft hands, and but Joe, yeah, being a guy that, you know, I grew up idolizing Joe Montana, being a Notre Dame fan growing up, and I had his poster on my wall. So when Joe Montana came here, that was awesome. And I talk about it in the book. I went out with Joe Montana the very first night he was in town. And to make a long story short, I got home really late. I told my wife I'd be home after dinner about 8 o'clock, and it was about 4 o'clock in the morning when I got home. And she's been calling everybody, calling the hospitals, everything else, because this is before cell phones. You couldn't get a hold of anybody. I walked in, and she was none too happy. I said, Sarah, what was I going to do? Tell Joe Montana I had to go home to my wife? And she goes, go to bed.
Where did you take him?
You know, the next Yeah, man, we went down. Hey, we went down. So we went out to dinner somewhere. I think it was like just some little bar. It may have been like the old Coaches or something back in the day. And they said, hey, you know, maybe I heard about this Westport area. Let's go to Westport. So we went down to Kelly's, and this was like a Wednesday night. It was like right before May camp, and there was nobody there. So I think Red was in the back bar sitting there serving Coors Lights like he always does. And we went back there, had a couple beers with him, and the next thing you know, it looked like St. Patrick's Day down at Kelly's. It was packed. And this is before cell phones, guys. I don't know how everybody found out, but they did. They packed it in. And actually, the police came in and said, guys, we got to get you out of here because it's just way too many people there. We don't have the resources for this. And then we headed that back down, what was it, kind of in that Knobtown area. I can't tell you exactly where we went from there. It was maybe a kind of a place where you go late at night with the guys, if you know what I mean. And then by the time we got home, it was awfully late, but we had a good time. And Joe and I are still friends. We talk all the time. Well, but you know, he loved Kansas City. He really loved Kansas City. And, you know, if it was up to him, he would have lived here. But Jennifer won the battle there, and they're back in the Bay Area. So.
I was going to say, we'll welcome our next guest. Surprise, Jennifer Montana joining us to talk about that night. Tim, I want to ask you, you brought up the draft here, and you've got an event coming up here at the Draft Lounge. Just kind of talk about it. You're going to be promoting the book, which is, again, Shane mentioned it. There's another good view of it. The View from the Center, which came out in September, which has just gone to rave reviews. Just kind of talk about this event and what it's a book signing and what people can look forward to in meeting you there.
Yeah, go to localflavorkc23.com and you can get some right off the old Firestone building. I think it's like 2001 grand. It's the old Firestone building. I'm going to be there from 3 to 5 signing books, just hanging out. And then I'm going to go back on Friday night to talk about what the Chiefs did in the first couple rounds of the draft. So I'll be there Friday night again in the evening. But yeah, so it's just an opportunity for me to get out there and talk to some people. I got a bunch of different things going on. This is one of the places where I'm going to be actually signing books and selling books. And then I'm also going to be at Made in KC on the Plaza on Friday the 28th from 2 to 4, selling books and hanging out. Hey, man, we're going to be out and about. This is great. The NFL draft coming to Kansas City. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. We're talking about it today on the radio a little bit. You know, listen, this is not probably going to be back in our lifetime, guys. You know, it's going to have to go through all the different teams. And then, you know, Chicago will probably get it twice, and New York may get it a couple times. So I'm not sure if Kansas City's going to get this anytime soon again. So I know there's going to be a lot of people out there, and I know everybody's going to be bitching and moaning about parking and all that kind of stuff. But suck it up. Suck it up.
Right.
And get down there and have a good time. There's going to be 400,000 people down there. We need to represent. I am looking forward to seeing Chiefs fans in the Chiefs Kingdom getting down there to Union Station up on the World War I Memorial Hill there and just having a great time partying, being safe, being friendly, but just partying it up and showing the NFL nation that the Chiefs Kingdom is the place to be, especially on a Sunday in the fall and on a draft day.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You got me fired up, Tim. Let's go,
baby.
Grunny. Let's go.
You just got me fired up from that intro, man. I'm ready to roll. Let's go.
Well, Tim, I wanted to ask you kind of about a now versus then kind of scenario here. We've got our interior offensive line. I'm going to throw up a graphic. Grunhard, Zott, and Shields versus Creed, Tooney, and Trey.
Oh, boy.
You have two great interior offensive lines. Tim, you're going to choose yourself here.
Oh, absolutely. I'm taking the Grunhard, Zott, and Shields line. Hey, but the only difference is we don't have a guy named Patrick Mahomes. So, you know, hey, listen, now I love Creed. I think Creed and Trey were steals in the draft. Yeah. Both of them outstanding. And you know, Tooney has done an unbelievable job of coming in here and playing the left guard position. And you know, he had to work out and play a couple other positions too. So, no, it's really a great line. Will Shields, Hall of Famer. Dave Zott, I believe, should be in the Chiefs Hall of Fame. And I was blessed enough to be in the Chiefs Hall of Fame. You know what? It's so great to have. These are like our little brothers, man. We look at them, we watch them play, and we're just so proud. Our hearts are full of joy that they're having this kind of success and winning rings. And that's what we wish we could have done, is run those rings. But the next best thing is watching this young group with Andy Heck, who is a really good friend of mine, a guy who I played college football with for 3 years, is coaching this group, and he's just a wonderful person. So I'm just so happy for this offensive line.
I think I got to give it to you guys too, Tim, because I see Dave Zott there shoving a Raiders defensive lineman's face into the turf.
Gotta love it. Gotta love it.
Zotter was nasty, man. Hey, funny story about Zotter is we used to have weigh-ins, right, on Fridays. And with Alex Gibbs and Howard Mudd as our offensive line coaches, this is back maybe our first 8 years together, we had to weigh under 300 pounds. I mean, isn't that crazy? Think about that. We had weigh-ins, and you had to weigh under 300 pounds. You didn't want anybody over 300 pounds. So we go on there, and Dave Lutz and Richard Baldinger and we'd be sweating it out Thursday night, going in the hot tub, going in the steam room. We wouldn't eat all night. We'd come in and we weigh in, and we grub on Friday mornings. We go get Nieces and have a bunch of, pork chops and all kinds of stuff.
Yes, sir.
So Zotter was the opposite. Zotter would get fined because he was too light. Zotter was weighing like 245, 250, right? Wow. So he used to put weights in his pocket. He would put like 5-pound weights in his pocket. So he'd have like an extra 10 pounds going on. So he'd get over 255, 260 because they fined him because he was too light. He was just a tough dude to handle, man. And with John Alt was and how about John Alt's son Joe Alt, who's an All-American at Notre Dame now, just doing awesome. We had an awesome bunch of guys, man. And like I said on that last podcast, and you guys did a wonderful job of bringing all those guys on. It would have been great to win a ring with those guys, and we just were missing a piece or two here or there. The defense was unbelievable. We probably could have used an elite quarterback, because you guys know as well as I do that it's a quarterback-driven league, and it was then, and it is still now.
Yeah. A better kicker possibly in 95. Who knows?
Yeah, and then I think it was in 99, I think it was when we signed a barefoot kicker in January. Not a good idea at Arrowhead Stadium.
Was that John Baker?
Yeah, I don't even remember the guy's name. You're right.
I do.
You guys kicks it out of bounds, and I think it was Rich Gannon. Rich Gannon throws one complete pass for like 20 yards, and then Seabass Janikowski kicks like a 55-yard field goal around the playoffs. So there you go.
99.
I think it was Janikowski in that game.
No, it was Nedney. It was a left-footed Nedney, but they got Janikowski the next year
after.
Oh, was it Nedney?
Yeah.
Hey, Tim. When
you know this stuff better than I do.
Hey,
I was
Tim,
just sitting there bitching and moaning that we didn't have our kicker kicked it out of bounds, so I wasn't even paying attention.
I'm not going to ruin the book for everybody because Chiefs fans are going to love it. But when you and Dave Zott get in town, do you ever drive by your old house in Lee Summit and laugh?
Oh man, Copper the Horse
stories are epic. I don't want to spill it because there are two epic stories in the book. What living in Lee Summit, those stories are so epic. You can share it if you want, one of them or any of them, Tim, if you want to. But I just want to know if you and Dave ever drive by the old house in Lee Summit and laugh.
No, we don't, but we probably should. I just saw Dave a couple of weeks ago, and we had a great visit. But yeah, I'll show you one story because this was a lot of fun. So we had a horse named Copper, right? And here's a guy from Chicago and a dude from right outside New York City. So what do we know about living on a farm and a ranch? So, when I said if I ever make any money and I sign a contract, being a dumb young kid, I said I'm buying some land. I want to get a ranch. I grew up. I could reach out of my window of my house and touch the house next door in Chicago. So I said I'm going to get some land. I'm going to get some room. So I got talked into buying this horse. We had no idea what we were doing. So make a long story short, the horse broke into the barn and ate like 40 pounds of grain. I mean, horses will eat themselves to death, right? So we're down in Westport, the Lynn Dickies or something. I can't remember where we were at. You guys probably you might be too young for Lynn Dickies back in the day.
I remember.
So we were driving home, and for some reason or another, I said, hey, let's just go out and check on and see what's going on with the horse. And the horse is laying there, and it's not in good shape. And we noticed that it ate all this grain. It was all extended and bloated. Well, we had a vet across the street, Dr. Herzog, who is a big Missouri guy and a really great guy. So I call him at 2 o'clock in the morning. And you guys, between you, and I know we weren't the soberest crew in the whole world when this was happening. So I call him. I said, "Yeah, the horse ate a bunch of grain, and it looks like it's doing bad." He goes, "I can't help you, man. It's 2 o'clock in the morning." He said, "You got to get a hose and stick it in its and drink and wash it out." So I hung up and I said, "Zotter, you gonna do that?" He goes, "I'm not doing that." I said, "I'm not either." So we went and got a pickup truck, and we were beeping the horn and like hitting the horse with the pickup truck until it finally got scared and jumped up. And when it jumped up, it exploded, man. All the grain came shooting out all over the windshield. We thought it was the funniest thing. We went and got a 6-pack of beer. We were driving in the back field, and we were like chasing the horse around. This thing is spraying crap everywhere. So that's just one of the many stories we had of our days living in Lisa Mountain Ranch.
Hey,
and
Tim.
the vet came by the next day and said he looked like he went to a desert storm or something, right?
He did. He said, "Oh my God, guys." He said, "What the hell were you guys doing?" He said, "Well, none of us were going to stick a hose in his ass. Let's tell you right now."
Hey, Tim, this is something that has always piqued my interest, but it might be a little odd though. In 93 was the last season where we had AstroTurf. How happy were the guys to switch over to grass in 94?
Man, unbelievably happy. Although Arrowhead's turf wasn't as bad as a lot of the turfs out there.
Really?
But turf first of all, it's hot as hell in September and October. And, anytime you fell, it just tore you up and obviously caused a lot more injuries. And guys, back in the day, in like 90 and 91, we didn't have the indoor facility. So when it was raining out, we wouldn't practice at Arrowhead. So, I mean, we were giving double duty on that damn turf. And when they finally got rid of it, I think one of the reasons why they got rid of it is because a certain guy named Joe Montana didn't want to play on AstroTurf. So once again, everybody out there, you could thank Joe Montana for bringing.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Hey,
you know what? There's two famous people that brought grass to Kansas City. One is the new mayor of Kansas City, and then the other one is Joe Montana.
Wow, I did not know that. So, and I want to say this too. I think that AstroTurf is a bigger contributor to the concussion situation the NFL had, and people give credit to. I think, the guys' bodies, as you just stated, just slamming off of because at home I'm watching as a kid, and I'm like, man, it looked like they're playing on it. There are a lot of tennis courts in Kansas City, and it looked like you all were playing like on the tennis court. And I used to try to mimic, football moves on the tennis court to see how it would feel. And I mean, AstroTurf isn't that, it's a pad of carpet over some concrete. Let's be honest here. But man, I just wanted to get your viewpoint on that as to the concussion thing with the AstroTurf. Am I accurate in that assumption instead of the hits necessarily?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like anything else. You're riding your bike on the street and you fall on the street and hit your head. I mean, that's about as hard as it was on AstroTurf. Now, when you're dirt biking out there or something and you fall in the grass or in the dirt, it gives a little bit. But yeah, your head would hit, and it would hit hard on that AstroTurf. But one of the things that the NFL has done a really good job of, and I didn't think I'd be a big fan of this, was the protocols that they're going through, and they have to see an outside doctor and everything else. But it really has worked out well, because it was a badge of honor for us to have our bell rung, and we had concussions, and a lot of guys who struggled had issues because of that. So the NFL has done a nice job. I know a lot of times you don't like seeing your superstars or some of the guys being pulled out of the game. But in reality, it's a lot better when they're my age now, 50, 55 years old, that they can still, function and they're still healthy and everything else. The NFL has done a good job. That's one of the many things I think the NFL has gotten right over the last couple of years. And the other is, really working. Hey, guys, this AstroTurf stuff, you're hitting on something, Brian. Well, before it's all said and done, it'll be interesting to see if there's any AstroTurf anymore. But then you're going to have to deal with, people bitching and moaning about grass like they did.
The Super Bowl grass. Yeah.
So, I mean, what the hell? You can't please everybody, I guess.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, Tim, what was more humbling to you? In your book, you talk about Chris Zorich. He made you work harder, and you were having a bad practice, and you felt like you weren't giving it all. And Lou Holtz pulled you out of practice and said, "We're going to practice without a right guard." What was harder, that moment, or the moment when you said Mike Webster came up to you in the second quarter in the middle of the Broncos-Chiefs game in December of 1990 and says, "You got to go back to the bench"? What was more humbling, and what do you think? What do you think affected you more? Which one, if you had to pick one?
Yeah, you know what? Lou Holtz, you say all the time, it takes a little fire to make steel. And I certainly went through some fire in those two situations. Probably the one, it was my job. I mean, at Notre Dame, it wasn't my job. It was just out there playing football because, I got a scholarship. They said I could play. So, but when you get a job, all of a sudden, I'm a rookie here. I just bought the ranch in Lee Summit. My father just passed away. I was going through some hard times. I just had surgery on my thumb. I had a big cast on my hand. And I thought when they pulled me off, I thought they're going to cut me. I said, man, all of a sudden I got this house in Kansas City. What am I going to do? They're going to cut me. And that's just what's going through your mind. And if you're any other guy other than Mike Webster, and the real quick story is Mike Webster basically stood up for me, said, "I'm not going in. That's your center. You get him in there." And there's a whole litany of stuff that's in the book, how it happened. But I didn't have Mike Webster there, my mentor, my friend, the guy that I really looked up to, a guy that was just really special in my life for that 1 year that he was in it. And then a couple of years after, we were in and out of our lives. But Mike saved my career. He saved it. I look up and I see my name up on the Ring of Honor and in the Hall of Fame at Arrowhead. It's because Mike Webster believed in me at that moment. So I often tell kids when I'm coaching them in high school, or I often tell people that, when they're out and about in their lives, an act of kindness could save a life. An act of kindness could save a career. An act of kindness could be the difference maker in all of our lives.
Yeah, you talk about Mike Webster there being a mentor. I want to know, we do a pregame show during the season each and every week before the game. with a good friend of ours, and I'm sure yours, Rich Baldinger. He was a wily veteran when you came in 90. He played till 92. Was he a mentor, or was he just kind of another guy, buddy in the locker room?
He wasn't particularly a mentor. He was, if you know Richard, although his hair is just outstanding, right? If I could have his hair, I'd be one happy camper. Or his sport jackets, both of those. His hair and sport jackets are awesome. I think he's got the same sport jacket he had in 1990 that he wears on Metro Sports. But Richard's great. I used to sit with Richard on the plane a lot, and he'd give me words of wisdom, and he was a great guy. Really enjoyed being around Richard. I remember hanging out at a place called the Mustard Seed with Richard many, many times back in the day that I think the DiCarlo family owned. I think he's still, I don't know if he's married or is he married?
He's still married to her.
Yeah. Great family. He took us under his wing in a different way than Mike did. So
yeah, I'm sure.
That was great.
Well, I've also got to go to this quick clip of there's some off-season workouts have been happening, and there's been ones that have been released today of Orlando Brown Jr., a little quick video, and then of Juwan Taylor. So I'm going to go to those and kind of get your expert offensive line opinion on what you see here. You see them. Orlando doesn't look that fleet of foot out there, but what'd you make of that? And what do you think?
It looks like he's got a stick up his ass, to tell you really honest with you. But not a bat, but a stick. So I was watching the Juwan Taylor thing. I actually, when the Chiefs signed him, I called their doctor. He's a good friend of mine, a guy who went to KU and now is the orthopedic for the Jaguars. I said, hey, tell me about this Juwan Taylor guy. He goes, well, I don't know much about him on the field, but hey, I got a good buddy of mine who was the offensive coordinator there a couple of years ago. You could talk to him. So I called him and talked to him. They loved him. They hated seeing him walk out of the door. He's a great locker room guy. He's a very good athlete. He said a lot of great things, but the one thing he did say is he doesn't know or didn't see him as a left tackle. So that's what we need to see. We got to see what he can do. And it kind of concerns me that the Chiefs now, this is two guys in a row that they really got guys that are really good right tackles and are trying to fit him into left tackle. Left tackle and right tackle are completely different, guys. It's a whole different world on that side. So I'm using my hands. I'm knocking stuff around. But I will say that the guy's got the work ethic. He's got the right attitude. Listen, I'm not here to bang on Orlando Brown. Orlando Brown, he was our guy. Helped us win a Super Bowl. It's good to have him around. But when Taylor comes in, he says, listen, I'll play any position they want me to play. I just want to play on this football team. I want to play with this great organization. I want to play with this great offensive line, and I want to play with Patrick Mahomes. They put me in any position, I'll be happy. And that's light years away from Orlando Brown. Listen, Orlando wanted to play left tackle. That was his goal. He wanted, he said, he wanted to do it for his dad, all that kind of stuff. There's a difference. We'll see. We'll see if it works out. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Chiefs look around in this draft this year and see if they could find a guy that could go in and play left tackle and maybe keep Juwan at right tackle. But we'll see. It's always good to have options.
Hey, Tim, in 1998, the Chiefs drafted Victor Riley, wasn't he a left tackle? Then in 1999, they drafted another left tackle. So do you often find yourself in a situation when it comes to drafting, when you look at the board and how players are falling, and you got to evaluate Victor Riley as a left tackle, then you draft another left tackle in John Tate and move Victor Riley over to right tackle? Do you think a lot of times GMs and scouts are just looking at the best player available and who can move from left tackle to right tackle in those situations, since two offensive tackles were drafted back to back in the first round by the Chiefs?
Yeah, it's so easy. I mean, it's not easy, but it's a lot. It's a lot better move to go to going from left tackle to right tackle than going from right tackle to left tackle. So if you got a guy who can play left tackle and he goes in there and maybe doesn't fit in that where they need him at that point, you can move to right tackle and he can live and he can thrive over there. And it's not as easy the other way around. But John Tate, I thought John Tate was going to be a heck of a player. He had a nice career, but I mean, they took some chances in, Trezell Jenkins, another tackle they drafted. Nobody ever brings
success stories. Keep bringing them, Tim.
Hey, so Tim, could you see the Chiefs possibly using that first round pick in a couple weeks to actually go and get a left tackle? Or do you think the focus is going to be, on the best available player, wide receiver, or any of those spots?
Great question. I think you're going to have to see what the runs. the draft's all about runs. You're going to see that quarterback run pretty early. I think you're going to see 4 or 5 guys go, maybe in the top 10. The Chiefs don't need that, so that's good. And then the next thing you're going to do, there's I counted about 6 or 7 defensive end rush ends that it may go in the first round. There's a lot of rush ends. The Chiefs could use one, but I don't think they're going to move up to get one. They got Karlaftis last year. It was a nice fit, and then they went out and they found some guys in the offseason that could fit in that position too. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think that there might be 1 or 2 tackles that they could reach up to maybe 25 to get if they so choose. If they do that, they'll have to give up 31 and maybe somewhere around between maybe 105 and 95 in the third round to move up that far to get a guy. We'll see if they want to do that or they want to stay pat. You got the guy from Oklahoma who a lot of people are talking about could be good, the guy from Tennessee. And then, we'll see if the Ohio State, not Paris Johnson, the other guy, John a blank on his name. But there's 3 tackles I think that the Chiefs will look at, and we'll see how it all falls. But, so what's going to happen is once the kid from Northwestern goes and once the kid from Georgia goes and the kid from Ohio State goes, the Paris Johnson, I believe is his name. Once they go, there's going to be a run on those tackles. And if the Chiefs can find their way to get up there to get one, that's great. If not, I think they'll stay pat and they'll look for the best player available, which could be a wide receiver. It could be a defensive end because there's so many of them, rush end. So we'll see what happens. I think it's going to be an interesting draft for the Chiefs. I wouldn't be surprised if the Chiefs move up in this draft, but I've heard theories that they're going to move down. I am telling you something right now. Clark Hunt is not going to let the in Kansas City that was the 30 has been play and 1,000 people are all excited for the Chiefs draft, and then all of a sudden they push it down to the next day. That ain't happening.
Yeah. Hey Tim, just from a pure football sense, as we see on the field, Orlando Brown Jr. wasn't the best fit at left tackle for the Chiefs ever. I don't care what nobody says. We made it work, and he made it work due to him and his hard work, and credit to him. But don't you think that Jawaan Taylor is a better fit, and it will allow Andy Reid to do a couple more things, maybe a couple more wrinkles that we probably couldn't do with Orlando Brown Jr.?
Yeah, so if you want to compare the two, Orlando Brown's got some dog in him. He's got some nastiness in him. Jawaan Taylor doesn't really have that. But that's about the only negative against Jawaan Taylor I've heard. Great locker room guy, unbelievable athlete, great feet. Orlando Brown was what he's called a waist bender. When he went to punch, his hands and his head went at the same time. They always lean forward. So he struggled against speed rushers. You watch Orlando Brown. I mean, there are some games Orlando Brown dominated, but it wasn't really against the AFC West speed rushers, the Bosas and the Crosbys and the guys that can get around that corner. He struggled because his hands and his head were tied together. When your hands and your head are tied together and you're leaning, we call them waist benders, and you're out of good position. Jawaan Taylor doesn't do that. Jawaan Taylor, the only knock against Jawaan Taylor is he's not as physical as maybe Orlando Brown, but he's a better athlete. So to what you're talking about, Brian, I believe Andy Heck could take a guy and mold him and make him into a good player. And at times, Orlando Brown was a good player, but I think he struggled against the competition that we had here in the AFC West. So he may do better over there in the AFC North, but we'll see. But hey, listen, I thought he was forcing himself over to that position. When it's all said and done, you watch, guys, it's all said and done, he'll be back at right tackle.
Well, Tim, we can't thank you enough. We, absolutely. It could be interesting. We absolutely love the book. And Shane is giving you a raving review here. We can't thank you enough for jumping on with this and for all that you've done and coming on and doing that 95 reunion. And it was just been great to catch up with you. And again, we love you on Sports Radio 810. Everything that you do, Tim, for the community and here in Kansas City. We can't wait for the draft. A lot coming up. So thanks for joining us, my man. You're now an official Arrowhead ally for life, brother.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, guys.
Is the audiobook available?
Yeah, go to timgrunhard.com. You can buy it on there. If you buy it on there, I sign all those books. And then, like I said, we'll be at Local Flavor KC 23 from 3 to 5 on Wednesday the 26th. And then I'll be Friday from the 28th from 2 to 4 down in the plaza at Maine and KC if you guys are looking for some books. And appreciate you guys having me on, man. This was a blast. Anytime, you let me know. After the draft, we could talk about it. Just let me know. I'll be happy to jump back on.
Hey, thank
Let's
you.
do
All
it.
Kansas City.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
sir.
Absolutely. We'll do that, Tim. Always an honor. Take care. Thank you.
Take care. Thank you.
That was cool.
Yeah.
That was real cool.
Really dope, man.
Thanks for having me on for that.
I thought he had some great insights into I didn't know Joe Montana was instrumental. I had no clue Montana was instrumental in bringing grass.
I did know that.
That was kind of mind blowing to me, to be honest with you, and it makes sense too. It makes a lot of sense.
We've had Mark Zellen on the show before, and he talked a little bit about that. How Marty was calling him every week, telling him a new thing, like, "Hey, you want to come here? We just got Joe Montana. Hey, we just switched to grass." Like he's trying to entice Marcus, and finally Marcus is like, "Fine, I'll come."
It lets you know the power of a QB. Not only can you say, go and get this guy, you can say, hey, I think we need to change some things up here at the stadium that's going to help me perform better. And man, Joe Montana is that guy. I wonder what Mahomes can do. Can you imagine if Mahomes say, I want to
Oh, you're seeing it. You're seeing it. You're seeing it right now, baby. Looking down. Hey, look, Mike, I don't know if you've been to Kansas City before, but downtown is looking awfully different these days. It really is, though. And you look around at Arrowhead, look, they to your point, that is the power of a quarterback. Because can you imagine like Arrowhead treating like how Cleveland couldn't build a new stadium in 95 and then they left? Like, can you imagine the facilities not being upkept with this guy here? Come on now. He can do what he wants with the snap of his finger, with a click of a tweet.
Which is why Clyde Edwards-Helaire is here. Exactly. And so, you take the good with the bad.
We didn't say he was a GM now.
Yeah, we didn't say he was a GM.
Well,
He's also moving the Royals downtown, hopefully, to expand the parking lot for Chiefs fans. He's all about the Chiefs.
That's definitely happening.
Yeah.
What I remember real quick about the grass changing in 1993 was the last year of AstroTurf. When I sat 4 rows off the field in the first preseason game, I couldn't wait to get down to my seat. And as soon as I got to 4 rows off the field, you could smell the grass. And I thought that was the coolest. I said, smell that grass, man. That grass smells like freaking football. Go ahead.
That's very Kevin Costner from Field of Dreams of you, Shane.
Or
Guys,
Dave Chappelle from Half Baked, whichever.
We are 2 weeks out from the National Football League draft here. And you know the way I see it, because Michael, Noah, we were there last year in Vegas. And I said back then, last April, I was like, this is the Raiders' time to shine. These fans, Ice Cube was playing concerts. This is their time this hope springs eternal. But here in Kansas City, it's going to be a much different vibe because, guys, it's going to be a coronation. It is an extension of the Super Bowl parade that started back in February and is going to continue on here into April, because the NFL draft with the Chiefs with the 31st pick, it's going to be a nonstop weekend celebration of a 2-time Super Bowl champion that we have here in quarterback Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, and what this organization is and what it's become. That is, to me, what this draft is all about here coming up in 2 weeks. We'll draft a player. We'll be excited about it. We're ready for it. But this city is on fire, and the Chiefs are why. It's certainly not because of the boys in blue over there.
Oh, don't do that. Okay, now this is where you cross the line. Don't do my Royals like that.
Royals do themselves like that.
Yeah.
Don't do my boys like that.
What do you guys think?
Exciting. Hey, so I actually got the approval today from the NFL for the draft. So I'm gonna be there in Kansas City, baby.
Wow.
What happened? That's awesome. First you're out, now you're in.
We got to take you to a Royals game.
Yeah, we do. Yes, we do.
I'm okay. I'd rather watch the Angels or Dodgers.
No, we need to take him to Kemper Inn and tell him where the Kings came from.
Hy-Vee Arena.
That arena's up
out there. It's gonna be so much fun.
That arena's up for sale right now, so we might need to get it back to its roots of hosting the Big 8 tournament. That's the great memories I have.
The Big
there.
8 tournament. God,
yes,
Clint, you are stuck in the New Jack Swing era, man. You are stuck from 88 to 95.
Yeah, that's about that was my peak. Yeah.
I mean, look, don't get me wrong. Look, that's my era too. I love it. But fam, we need you to come on to 2023, man. You mentioned the Big 8 tournament.
Yeah, that was a big staple of the arena for several years.
It was. It was. And a Michael Jackson concert
right.
in
and
1988.
Owen Hart falling to his death in 1999.
So come on now.
I was there.
Oh my God, Clint, you crossed the line continuously.
How? I was
have mercy.
I was at the event. It's traumatizing to this day.
R.I.P. Owen Hart, man. R.I.P. R.I.P.
So let's talk about
you are not a Nugget.
Instead of the exciting things we have going on here in 2023, which is Richie James, wide receiver from the Giants, Kadarius Toney's old teammate, more of a kick returner, punt returner specialist, but he can also do some things at the receiver position, more than McCole Hardman could. So I'm excited about this.
The Goon Squad, we got him, baby.
Yeah, I'm concerned. What I'm concerned with is Odell Beckham signing that 1-year contract, which guarantees him $15 million. It's an $18 million contract. What that does to the market for DeAndre Hopkins is DeAndre Hopkins, and I've talked to Lance Twidwell of The Spoken about this in depth, and he thinks DeAndre Hopkins will take less money to come to the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl. But I can't. I would love that, but I just think that DeAndre Hopkins is now going to look at that OBJ contract and think, I wonder who's going to give me that much money. I mean, how is the market now for the Chiefs getting DeAndre Hopkins now that OBJ's on that deal?
Shane, I think that is different for D-Hop because he's still under a contract right now. So I think that it's pretty much going to come down to him. Do you want to get paid or do you want to have a chance of winning? And if the trade makes sense, the Chiefs, I think, are going to, make it happen and do something with his deal. So if the Chiefs want D-Hop, I believe that they will get D-Hop somehow, some way. It's just up to Kansas City. If they feel we got Patrick Mahomes, we can play with whoever at wide receiver and win a Super Bowl. So we don't really need to force a trade to get D-Hop, maybe draft some young guy. But I think it's all on the Chiefs if they want to make the move that's going to be needed, because I believe that D-Hop will be willing to take a pay cut. Because if you go win a Super Bowl, you're going to find money. People are going to find ways to get you money, especially with a guy like D-Hop.
Yeah, it's a price to pay to win, especially when you want to, if you want to win with the best quarterback in the game. And do you want Jimmy G throwing your balls? Do you want Patrick Mahomes? Do you want Andy Reid calling your plays? Or would you have
Josh McDaniels?
Yeah, right. Or my man's in New England now, Matt Patricia, or no, but they have Bill O'Brien now. But anyway, y'all get my point. Do you want Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes? Well, yeah. You're almost, I don't want to say you're almost guaranteed a ring. I don't want to go that far yet, fellas. But look, man, you take the Chiefs offense to another level, better than perhaps the one that was on the field last year. If you get D-Hop, I think he's that dangerous, and I think the combination with him and Kelsey will open up the floodgates for everything.
And I think another thing, Shane, before we switch gears, is that Odell has already won a Super Bowl. So he's like, I already did that. I got a ring. I scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl in LA playing for the Rams, where D-Hop is like, man, I don't have anything. I haven't really won in the playoffs. I want to know what it feels like. Let me take less money to go to Kansas City, where I know at least I'm going to make an AFC championship game. So, it's on you, Chiefs. It's on you, D-Hop. Make it happen. We're waiting for it.
It makes sense. Just like
Go ahead, Shane. I'm sorry.
No, it's cool. It makes sense. Just like you brought up 2 weeks ago, Brian, with Patrick Surtain. It made sense. It made sense in 2006 with Ty Law. It just makes sense. And here we are. Even I can't remember, it was Marcellus Wiley or Marcus Spears on ESPN yesterday said DeAndre Hopkins needs to go to Kansas City. So all the signs are pointing to it happening. I keep thinking it's going to happen once Chris Jones get extended so they can spread the money out and make it work even better. But it's like we're still in that stage, and I guess we'll see what happens. I guess naturally my fears is it won't. What do you think, Clint? Or go ahead, Brian.
Oh, no, it's happening. It's coming.
Well, I just think that we discussed this recently, where look at all the quarterbacks that DeAndre Hopkins has played with. He hasn't had a chance to, I love Kyler Murray, but he's not Patrick. He's never had a chance to play with that top-notch quarterback with Deshaun Watson. I forgot about Deshaun
Dwayne
Watson.
Bowe.
And they were a great team. The Houston Texans, one of the 2 or 3 best teams in the AFC at that time in 2019. So I'm just saying, man, and like you said, Shane, it makes too much sense, and you get a chance to play with the best in the game. You don't get these chances far too often to where your free agency or your trade situation or your career lines up at the same time where you have a chance to play with a juggernaut. It doesn't happen for everybody.
Hey, think about this. I know we talked about it with Tim when he said the Chiefs aren't trading their first round pick. What if they do make that trade because they're going to announce the D-Hop trade during that weekend? I think we wouldn't care at all about a first round pick if during that same day
some people going to be pissed. Some people gonna be pissed at that. Now it'll be a crowd divided at that point, whether it works out or not. At that, it'll be people that's pissed. I don't see that happening.
No,
I would be to be honest with you. I want D-Hop. I want to trade no first round pick.
Yeah, they're not going to trade it first.
Not a first, but just they make that move and they announce it there at the draft, and then they announce the Chiefs have traded their first round pick. I think that'll kind of put us at ease to be like, damn, all right, at least we got D-Hop, because you're going to miss out on a special moment of drafting a guy in Kansas City after they win the Super Bowl. But as long as we get D-Hop, we can be back in another Super Bowl, and that's what matters most.
I think with 10 draft picks,
D-Hop, if they moved and then they move down into the second round or something, if they decide that there's nobody there at 32 that they want, or 31, I think, because I think the Dolphins lost their first round.
Right. But with 10 draft picks, do you guys really think the Chiefs are going to use 10 draft picks, or do you think it'll be like 7 or 8 if they trade up?
7.
Yeah, I think the Chiefs will trade up at some point.
Yeah, there'll be some influx in the second and third round, I believe, for sure.
Well,
but you never know. If they trade up from the 31st to the 22nd, they could make some trades there too.
The strategy is obvious here in what Brett Veach is doing and what draft picks have become, and they become ever important here because he's gone through a cycle now. The 2019 class is all gone except Nick Allegretti. Brett Veach isn't paying nobody, which means you got to constantly stock the cupboard for the next class. Okay, so in 2020, you think Willie Gay's going to get paid? We know Clyde Edwards-Helaire is not. So you're going to be constantly looking to do that. And that's what the Chiefs did quietly in last year's draft. You got to have this is just like any business. You got to have, there's always somebody younger and cheaper that can come in here and do the position. And that's how the Chiefs are going to be winning Super Bowls. And that's what this is going to be about. And that's why it's important that the Chiefs have all these picks to make the moves that they want to make. And we saw it last year, and it came to fruition last year. And I think the reason that you could argue that draft class is the reason the Chiefs were able to win the Super Bowl with especially those corners. So We'll see this year. I can't wait to see where we stock the cupboard. Then when you see the positions and you see the positions of emphasis, you'll see okay, well, the 2020 class is now coming up due to get paid, and ain't none of them getting paid because that's not what we do here.
See, this is why I hate mock drafts. I can't stand them. I'll look at a few. I'll look at a few just to get a gauge of what people are thinking. But overall, mock drafts are trash, and I'm gonna tell you why. Nobody knows what the hell the Chiefs are going to do.
Right.
The Chiefs could go edge. The Chiefs could go receiver. The Chiefs could go the Chiefs could go tight end. The Chiefs go line. Chiefs could go a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And another thing, there's still dominoes yet to fall.
Yep.
Chris Jones' extension has not been made yet.
Mm-hmm.
And if that happens, there's wiggle room to do even more things, to trade pieces, to get this, to do whatever you need to do. So nobody knows what. There's so many things that the Chiefs could do. That's why this is going to be the ultimate reality show with the draft, because it would be different if it was like, oh, well, we know the Chiefs are going to get a cornerback first round, or, oh, well, damn, there's a real big hole on the offensive line. You really don't see that with this team, man. And also trading up in the first round. I would not rule that out either. I think eventually the Chiefs will trade up at some point because, like you said, Clint, it's too many picks. There's not enough spots to go around for all of these players, and so you really want to get the best juice for your squeeze, for lack of a better term.
100%.
So yeah, I could definitely see that. We don't know what the Chiefs are going to do with this draft.
Yeah. And when your team wins like that, it's like being a Laker fan, growing up, is that we didn't really look at the draft at all because it's like we got Shaq, Kobe, we're winning. That's where the Chiefs are. The Chiefs are like, we got Pat, we got a team. We know how to build through the second, third, fourth, fifth round to where the first round is kind of like what really fits. You know what I'm saying? What's really going to take us to that next level? And like with this Chiefs team, other than maybe wide receiver, for sure, and maybe right tackle or left tackle, depending on what they feel Taylor is going to play, the Chiefs can really say, hey, we can just go get whatever, that can fill a need now, or that can be somebody that can play now in the future, and they're going to be okay. So it's just a great spot for the Chiefs to be in.
And is there a position group that you guys are worried about? Like if we don't get DeAndre Hopkins, even after the draft, like defensive end, right tackle, running back, wide receiver, would any of you be worried about that, or is worry too strong of a word after what we
need
just
an edge? We need an edge.
Yeah, I'll say
we need edge, and we need one more receiver, whether that be D-Hop or whoever in the draft. But edge and receiver are two things that I'm like, we need to improve.
Group, if it's just a rookie, if it's not DeAndre Hopkins, I'll be a little nervous.
Well, something needs to happen with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. They need to trade him or release him or something because he was inactive for the Super Bowl. He wasn't at the parade. I know he had a model show to go to, but
so did I. I get it.
The parade's a once in a lifetime thing. But I think you're going to need a backup running back, which obviously we can get later. But I'm hoping and praying we bring back Jerick McKinnon. But I don't
think that's happening, Shane.
I hope
you got a comment right here from Kenneth Caldwell about it.
And I love Jerick McKinnon. Anybody who's followed me on Facebook knows how much I love that man. But the running back position in this year's draft,
a lot of
way
speed.
Too deep.
It's not even about running back. It's not about running back for Jerick McKinnon because he's a weapon. You don't think we're going to give Jerick McKinnon 15 to 20 carries. You think, how is he a weapon out of the backfield? Jerick McKinnon made the loss of Tyreek Hill that much easier because he had 9 touchdown receptions. Yeah. So they got to find a way to get a 1-year deal with him because he is that important. He's not, again, in this offense with Andy Reid, he is just a weapon. You got to have him as a weapon. He also can block. So I hope more than anything, since we're talking about concerns specifically to Noah's question, I hope Jerick McKinnon stays somehow, some way next year because I don't think there's anybody in this draft that's got that rapport with Patrick Mahomes other than Jerick McKinnon. That's my concern.
Hey, Shane, Chief fans out there, please don't be mad at me, but don't be surprised if Clyde is back because, he started the season off well, catching the ball and scoring touchdowns. Until, they were trying to figure out the backfield, like, what the hell do we do? Like, who should we start? Until they finally figured out Pacheco is the guy we're going to tote the rock with. Now, if you have a guy like Clyde who's, can play the screen game, can, score in the red zone as well, that they might be like, let's try to give him one last chance before we do something. Yeah. And that's what it's looking like right now.
I thought, like, when Clyde played last year, I thought he looked the best he ever looked in the Chiefs uniform.
Yeah, and he was solid. Yeah,
he was looking good. He was getting in the end zone. He was a red zone threat. But man, it's the running back position in the NFL. It is what it is, and it's been this way for a long time. Yeah. They're easily replaceable. You'll be a fool to give a running back a second contract after his rookie year, to be honest with you. Because it's just, and now to me, to be honest, fellas, the running back position is becoming more and more talented as the years go by. You look at all these running backs that came out last year. Kenneth Walker III.
Yeah.
He is a battering Breece Hall. These guys are great. And so why would I and again, I love McKinnon, love him to death, but and this is why I was against going with Kareem Hunt the past couple of years, because why would I go with them when I got these young stallions over here? I love Kareem Hunt,
our friend.
Hey,
look, man, but still,
I'm just saying, possible, baby.
But that's true. But guys, the talent, the running backs that are coming out this year, all I'm hearing is like that's the deepest position group in this year's draft.
Yeah. Is there anything to this? Stephon Diggs hanging out with Jerick McKinnon. Is Jerick McKinnon down?
Oh, now come on now. Now, look, we saw the Bills and what they did without Brian Daboll last year. So my point is, it takes more than just players on the field and cute little reverses or whatever you want to do, cute little Instagram pictures, and you want to put up Sharon Rollies. Okay, that's fine, but you don't have Andy Reid, and you got to have players to use them. Jerick McKinnon, let's be honest though, like Jerick McKinnon was a journeyman before he was with the Chiefs. Some of that due to injury, not the skill. I don't want to diminish him, but I'm just saying that running back position easily replaceable.
Well, one position that's not replaceable is quarterback, and I want to go to a quick video clip, which I also put pasted over at a tweet from our good friend Lance Twidwell, who kind of debunked this next video from our good friend. Well, I don't know if he's anyone's good friend anymore. Carson Palmer and his brother do a podcast together, and he had a kind of a controversial hot take that has like slowly meandered its way up into the national media.
And no bias here whatsoever.
No bias. He played for the Bengals for 8 years, but no bias.
I think Joe's the best quarterback in the league. I know Patrick is phenomenal, but I just think Joe's more consistent. He's more consistent. He's more accountable to run the system and the play that's called, and not feel like, well, he didn't win last time and get open for me, so I'm going to do it with my feet. And then before you know it, you're socked for a 4-yard loss because you tried to make 2 or 3 guys miss. Joe is just, they're talking about not having a weakness. Mentally strong, physically tough, accurate, can throw it far enough, fast enough, gets the ball out quick, and then he can actually do a lot with his legs. He just rarely shows it. And it's not, I think he's as athletic outside the pocket with, and can do a lot of the same things Patrick Mahomes has done. He hasn't done it and showed it yet. He's played more within his system and style, but I think he's the best quarterback in the league.
This isn't even up for debate, man. This is not even.
Oh my God! He said
Carson Palmer. I mean, Joe Burrow. This isn't up for debate unless Joe Burrow won the Super Bowl against the Rams.
Correct.
If Joe Burrow won the Super Bowl against the Rams, then you can bring this to light. This was the most idiotic freaking comment I've heard from an NFL quarterback who's played years and years. What a dumb comment. He lost his only Super Bowl appearance. He's never been an NFL. Joe Burrow's never been an NFL MVP. He's never been a Super Bowl MVP.
Does he have MVP vote?
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brian.
No, Michael, go ahead, Michael. Go ahead. I want, because I'm going to eat. Go ahead, Michael. I'm going to eat.
For all my hoop fans out there, I think you're going to agree. Are you going to like this comparison? Like, I think of shooting the basketball, right? When you think of shooting the basketball, who has the prototypical shot? It would be Klay Thompson, right? He's the guy you like. That's what I would want my jump shooter to look like. He's one of the greatest to do it. But then there's his teammate, Steph Curry, who it's tough to shoot like him because he shoots at so many different angles off the dribble, going left, right. That's what makes him greater than great when it comes to shooting the ball. And it's the same way with Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow, he looks like the prototypical guy. He does a lot of things the right way. But then you have this guy named Patrick Mahomes who does, he can do all of the right things and everything more. It is Patrick Mahomes. I love Carson Palmer. He's a USC guy, fight on forever. But this take is wrong and terrible. The only way that is happening is because I think the Bengals is like, hey, we want to pay you this little money if you say this so that we can keep this narrative going.
It's the only explanation. So
it's no way. It's no way that you can say that anybody that's playing football right now at the quarterback position is better than Patrick Mahomes. So that's the only way I think that he can say something like this.
Thank you.
He can't. So he defeated his own self. I'll get to that in a second. That this word potential, it's a very dangerous word because you can get real imaginative with how you view things. You can get real jaded. And he's clearly jaded. He said, yeah, Joe Burrow can do all the things that Patrick Mahomes can. He can run outside and he just hasn't shown it yet.
Do it.
He hasn't shown it because he's not capable. Because he's not. He got hurt because he was trying to be mobile because his offensive line is trash and he missed an entire season. Mm-hmm. What are we talking about here, man? I am so tired of this disrespect. I am so tired of it. Okay, like we should not even be having this This should not be on anybody's mind right now. And I want to know, when has Patrick Mahomes not been consistent? Last year in 2022, MVP year. When was he not consistent? When?
Yeah, somewhere in the middle of going to 5 straight AFC Championship games, playing in 3 Super Bowls. I mean, my God, that's the most consistent I've ever heard a player ever in history.
Well, he was talking about more play to play. He was saying, you get a -4, and then he has to make a spectacular play. Well, he made it because he's the MVP and he can do that. Amen. That's something that Joe Burrow doesn't have. We haven't seen it because he doesn't have it.
I'm sorry to say, do you want Jordan or do you want Mitch Richmond? And Patrick Mahomes,
Mitch Richmond went to K-State.
Joe Burrow is Mitch Richmond. We have to be people have to be serious about this conversation that they're having, because for people, the outside looking in, it just looks like clickbait material. It's like, it's no way that you believe this when you can put up the numbers, the awards, everything is leaning towards one guy. So we need to stop with the Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes. And if we're going to mention Joe Burrow, we need to be talking about, is he for sure better than Josh Allen? Because he has better weapons than Josh Allen. So that helps him a lot. And yeah, he made it to a Super Bowl, but Josh Allen is the guy that's comparable to Joe Burrow. Leave Patrick Mahomes alone, man.
Oh, let's get on this too. I'm glad you brought that up, because that was a point that I was going to make. It's about to be a fair game, baby, with these contracts. Oh, because you're gonna have to pay. You're gonna have to pay Joe Burrow and one of those little shiny receivers that you got. They're gonna go bye-bye.
Jamar
Chase. Go bye-bye. They're gonna go bye-bye. And he's gonna have to make it work. He's gonna have to make it work with chicken salad. He's gonna make chicken salad out of chicken, you know what?
By that time, maybe they can have MVS.
That time is coming.
McCole Hardman.
Maybe
he takes a chance at McCole Hardman.
Maybe. But that time is coming soon. I think that they're talking about paying him more than Patrick. For what reason, I don't know.
T. Higgins is going to be going next year.
Yeah.
Don't you think that this is all ado about there's stick in the mud people out there, and Skip Bayless is one of them, that doesn't like the way that these quarterbacks extend plays with their legs. They throw across their body. They're throwing it at crazy angles. This isn't Tom Brady standing there in the pocket and going through his progressions. That Joe Burrow makes this little white boy, progressions with his feet and looks at all 3 options before he dumps it off. Don't you think that there's a little something to that Carson Palmer, the era he comes from, and the Ben Roethlisbergers and the Peyton Mannings, and we love the way these guys study and we love the way these guys do the right thing. And maybe we're just going against the grain here. We don't like this newfangled technology out here.
Patrick Mahomes does all of that. He's a student of the game.
He doesn't get enough credit for it, though, Brian. He doesn't get enough credit for it.
He'll take the rings. Forget the credit. He'll take the rings.
And they look at everything else. It's kind of like when you hear about Jordan in the 80s, how all these players used to come out against him and say, oh, man, he's a great player, but it's this and that. But once he had the rings, it was nothing you could say. Patrick has the ring.
Yeah, now we're still here. Yeah.
What are we doing?
Keep it coming, please. Yeah, we beg of you. Patrick Mahomes is a Virgo. He's very petty. He keeps all of this in his mind, okay? He does. He's going to keep. So please keep it coming. Please.
No one. We know
next time Palmer opens his mouth about this and starts saying Joe Burrow is better than Patrick Mahomes, I need Chemo von Oelhoffen to come and tear his ACL again.
The last thing I want to say is Joe Burrow had his chance to win a Super Bowl. With the Bengals down in the Super Bowl, he drove into the Rams territory at the 48-yard line. Bengals had momentum. Here was Joe Burrow's chance to win. He went 4 and out. Game over. And as Pat Mahomes Sr. says, big players make big plays in big-time games. He has said that before his son ever played a down in the NFL. And guess what? Patrick Mahomes makes those plays. He's always behind. He's always coming back. If the Skip Bayless and Carson Palmer and Carson Palmer's twin brother doesn't like it, too bad, because Patrick Mahomes is the face of the NFL. Enough said.
Oh, let's not forget Jason Brown, former coach of the Indianapolis Junior College, Last Chance U. The following is building, and this is the unfortunate part. Is that I really like Joe Burrow. I'm a fan of Joe Burrow. We were able to meet him at SEC Media Days in 2019. He's a great. I love the way he plays. He's kind of become a stone cold killer. He's right there. It's like, though, it's just, if he's the second best quarterback in the league, it's the same amount of distance between he and Patrick Mahomes as there is between Joe Burrow and Dak Prescott. down on that next level. That's the amount of distance that exists. I'm sorry.
Can I say this? Just for all those Bengals fans out there, because I'll be going back and forth with them on Twitter, and it's so much fun because they can't say much to me.
Except 3-1. 3-1, they say, right?
Two regular season wins.
Right.
But all of those wins in the regular season, or even last year's AFC Championship, we weren't talking about because Joe Burrow lit the defense up. We were talking about how the Bengals defense did such a hell of a job coming up with a scheme that was able to stop Patrick Mahomes. People are acting like he was coming out throwing 400, 500 yards against the Chiefs and just clearly looking better than Mahomes, where it wasn't that at all. Their numbers would be almost identical or close. It was just a hell of a job by their defense, but now the Chiefs has figured it out. And, it's all about winning championships. Nobody was discussing if Clyde Drexler was better than Michael Jordan, to take it back to basketball during the 90s, because Jordan was winning, and that's all that matters when it comes to these sports. The quarterback, if he wins, he is that guy. That's why Tom Brady is him, and Patrick Mahomes is him right now. Stop it with the Joe Burrow talk. I'm done with it.
The Bengals have my respect. The Bengals have our respect.
They do.
Joe Burrow is a good quarterback. They need to quit saying, the experts need to quit saying he's better than Patrick. Again, Joe Burrow's a good quarterback. The Bengals are a damn good team. I didn't want to face them in the AFC Championship game because we were 0-3, but we faced our demons, we faced our fear, and we fought the battle, and we won it. And they had a chance to win in the AFC Championship game. We punted on 4th and 8, and the Bengals got a couple of first downs.
I thought it was over.
Yeah, they got a couple first downs, and Chris Jones got a sack, forced him to punt.
It was over?
So they had their chance.
Yes.
So,
especially if they completed a 3rd and 15 to our 35-yard line, or to their own 35-yard line. It was the definition of over.
We respect Cincinnati, but Patrick Mahomes is better. That's it.
We respect it, but I'm gonna take a page out of Shaggy. All right. To quote Patrick Mahomes Sr., aka Silky P. Smoking on that Joe Burrow. Smoking on that Joe Burrow.
Hey, and can you? I know he had Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, but I don't think Patrick has played with a running back other than maybe Kareem Hunt early, like Joe Mixon. And then you add in Higgins, Boyd. You have Chase over there. Like, he has had some talent. He hasn't really had to make anybody better. Like, these guys are already ballers. Where Patrick Mahomes had to resurrect Juju's career. We made MVS against Jacksonville look like, damn, can he possibly be a number one? That's a lot of Patrick Mahomes, and I just don't see that from Joe Burrow. If he can keep his pieces together, which I don't think is going to happen, he can look special, and he's going to be really good. But as he start losing these pieces because they have to pay him money, we're going to really see who Joe Burrow really is.
Yep.
Tony Russell, we would love to address the receiving core and the receiving position, but unfortunately, we are desperately out of time, as Tony Schiavone would say.
We talked about it earlier.
We need DeAndre Hopkins or a rookie, basically. So
desperately out of time. We got extended 5 minutes like Raw. Oh, our 5 minutes is up. Oh, no.
Exactly. And, we heard Mick Foley, who used to wrestle here under Cactus Jack, is going to win their title. That'll put some butts in seats. No, but we appreciate that. We're going to be talking about this more. Hopefully we can get a show in on the Tuesday before the draft.
Let's do it next Tuesday, man. You guys win next Tuesday again?
We'll see how things shake out. We're going to be heading to Miami, you guys, for the Sport Fishing Championship, as Chris Jones, Tyreek Hill, Justin Herbert are vying for the top prize at Miami Beach, Florida this weekend. Watch it on CBS. We will be there covering it, as they will be, I believe the captains are Herbert and Chris Jones, and there will be drafting players. Tyreek Hill's there. Matt Judon,
Matthew Judon, Patrick Surtain the second.
And you guys are going down for that?
We are going down there for that, bringing my creamsicle suit. It's Miami Beach, Florida. And
creamsicle suit.
You got to go to bed right now. We're going to wake up at like 3 a.m. So.
Yeah, we're out, guys.
Down the aisle.
We will be doing a lot more as this gets in. The draft's coming up, guys, a lot. Thanks to Tim Grunhard once again for joining us. That was tremendous. And guys, thanks for it as always. So we appreciate it. Arrowhead Allies.
Much love, baby.
Once again,
go Lakers tonight.
Yes, Lakers. Smack the T-Wolves. Play the game. Let's go,
T-Wolves.